Before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. This story contains real violence, disturbing events, and one of the most chilling criminal histories in Brazil. Today, we're diving into the life of Pedro Rodrigues Filho, known as Pedrinho Matador, or Little Killer Pedro. He is believed to be responsible for over 100 murders, many committed inside prison walls. What makes his case terrifying is not just the number of victims, but who he targeted and why he believed he had the right to kill them. This is the story of the serial killer who hunted other criminals. Pedro's life began in violence, literally. While he was still in his mother's womb, his father kicked her during an argument, fracturing Pedro's skull before he was even born. That dent stayed visible for the rest of his life. Growing up in rural Brazil, Pedro witnessed violence everywhere, long before he understood what the law even was. By the age of 14, he made a decision that would turn him into a killer. When his father was fired from a school security job after being falsely accused of stealing food, Pedro snapped. Consumed by rage, he stole a shotgun, walked straight to the vice mayor's office, and shot him dead in broad daylight. Later that same day, still burning with fury, Pedro tracked down the real thief who had framed his father and killed him as well. 2 murders in one day, committed by a 14-year-old boy, and this was only the beginning. After fleeing to São Paulo, Pedro immersed himself in the criminal underworld. But unlike other fugitives, Pedro believed he had a mission. He claimed he only killed bad people, drug dealers, gang members, rapists, abusers. He saw himself as a vigilante, a self-appointed cleaner who took justice into his own hands. But this wasn't justice, it was obsession, revenge, and uncontrolled rage disguised as purpose. During this time, Pedro fell in love with a woman named Maria Aparecida Olimpier. She brought him a rare sense of peace, but when she was murdered by a gang, that peace shattered. Pedro launched into a violent spiral of revenge, hunting down multiple people involved in her murder and executing each one. This was the moment he fully embraced the identity he would carry for decades, a man who justified killing as righteousness. Police finally captured Pedro in 1973, but the violence didn't stop, it simply moved behind bars. During his first transport to jail, he was seated next to a man accused of rape. By the time the vehicle reached the station, the man was dead. Pedro had strangled him on the ride. Inside prison, Pedro became one of the most feared inmates in Brazilian history. He claimed to have killed dozens more behind bars, often targeting murderers, rapists, and gang leaders. Some attacks were explosive fights, others were cold, calculated ambushes. In one infamous case, he stabbed an inmate 21 times, then cut out a piece of the man's heart. He later admitted he bit into it before spitting it out. This was the level of brutality he operated on. When investigators finally tallied his total number of victims, the count exceeded 100. Some reports say 110, others believe the real number is higher. Pedro became one of the deadliest serial killers in Brazil's history, all while insisting every person he killed deserved it. But the truth is darker. Pedro gave himself the power to determine who was worthy of living and who would die. In 2007, due to Brazil's legal sentencing limits, Pedro was released after more than 30 years behind bars. Shockingly, he attempted to rebuild his life. He gave interviews, warned young people not to follow his path, and eventually started his own YouTube channel discussing crime and morality. But no matter how much he tried to reinvent himself, Pedro understood something deeply: the past always waits. On March 5, 2023, in Mogi das Cruzes, Pedro Rodrigues Filho, the man who once haunted prisons and criminals alike, was shot dead outside his home. 2 men approached him in broad daylight. No words were exchanged, only gunfire. Pedro collapsed where he stood. To this day, the killers have not been officially identified. Some believe it was revenge from someone connected to his many victims. Others think it was a criminal he once hunted decades ago. But one thing is certain: Pedro lived by violence, and he died by violence. Pedro Rodrigues Filho's story is one of the most chilling in true crime history, not because he hid in the shadows, but because he believed he was doing justice. He became the executioner of criminals, the hunter of killers, the man who decided who deserved to live. But in the end, the world decided for him. If you want more terrifying true crime stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode.